most RPM I heard out of this thing yet. Beautiful shut and open, and shut and open. A lot better than it was. What's up, guys? It's Gary. So in this video, we're going to be doing a few little improvements on this thing that are going to make a tremendous difference. Not the least of which is just washing it, which I'm actually really happy how that turned out. And a couple of other things. The other side looks better, and you'll see why that is. And we take it for a little drive, and I am really loving this car now, so enjoy the video, hopefully. Alright, so first thing I'm tackling on this thing is this hood latch. The thing I noticed right off the bat is the hood alignment, the hood adjustment for the hinges is way off. Yeah, so this gap is obviously wrong, like a major issue. Hopefully that will cure the issue. I think that's probably why it was stuck. Alright, that was the best I could do. Something's a little tweaked here because I pretty much have this side pushed as far forward as it can go on the hinge. And then over on this side, it's actually, I think, basically as far back as it can go, and it's a little bit wider gap back on this side than it is on that side. But it's not rubbing now when I open the hood, and it does definitely look like the latch is going to line up a lot better. It looks like everything's going to operate just fine, providing that cable does actually pull that deal all the way. Alright, well, here comes the moment of truth. Will it actually open the hood? So we are just gonna see what happens here, I guess. That's closed. Yeah, I'm gonna say that's a yes. Yeah. Now, we just got to figure out how we're going to set that up. Alright, well, since I've owned the car, that's the first time I've had the hood shut and the grill in place and everything. What a beauty. Alright, so check this out. One thing I've always been good at is figuring out how to rig something up when you don't have the actual parts to fix it. So, we got the little loop going through there. It's not terribly unsightly, and it could be tucked in if I really wanted to. And that guy is just, that was already, like, you know, tied around there the way that big long cable was. So I just looped it through there. And now we got a nice little loop. It works perfectly. So that leads us to the next things that I want to get done on this. Soon I'd like to get to these the fender and the door dent, but I'm not going to worry about those just yet because we got bigger issues to deal with. The transmission was shifting funny, and from what what the guy told me, and also, whoa, what is going on there? I got some kind of light deal going on. So what the guy told me is how these things work is pretty much all based on vacuum. The diesels are particular in the way that the transmission shifts. They're very sensitive to any issues, and it all is based on vacuum, and there is a bunch of vacuum lines. There's also what is called a Bowden cable, but basically the Bowden cable is for how long it holds in a gear, and it connects to your throttle, so it depends on throttle position. And this is the VCV valve, which I then went on to do a really poor explanation of. It is the vacuum control valve. It is also connected to the throttle linkage, and it is a variable control for vacuum. So, of course, this being a diesel engine, there is no vacuum provided by the engine. It has a vacuum pump, and in order for that vacuum to be regulated for transmission shifting, this is the valve which does that. Connected to the throttle, variates the different vacuum conditions to allow the transmission to do its thing. What's happening is it's shifting too early, and it's shifting really hard, and it flares from like second to third, I think, or maybe might be third to fourth. I think it's flaring. All right, so I made some progress here. I'm going to take you under there and show you what I found. I know that it's all vacuum, and it's most likely a vacuum issue. So I go under here looking for the vacuum line. I was also looking for the cable for the Bowden cable, the other end of it. Well, there's the vacuum modulator right there. Well, you see the vacuum line going to it? It was completely disconnected. It was right off of there. The Bowden cable right here, I don't know that there's really much adjustment left on that, because you figure it only goes into that plastic thing. So I don't know how much is left there, and I still am not quite adjusted to where I need to be. Now that it's on the ramps, I can't really get you in there to really see. Well, you can kind of see. See that stop? We'll see how there's a bit more. It should be up under no tension. It should be up against that stop. So we need to get maybe a more adjustment out of that. Well, I messed with it some more, and I actually was able to get that adjustment to be in the correct location for the baseline. But we're going to move on to a few other things, and then we'll take it for a drive towards the end of the video. Well, we got it. Hey guys, I'm back for another voiceover. So there's obviously some missing context here. The hatch wouldn't open. I think I mentioned that in the first video with the car. It would not open at all. It was completely stuck. Well, I was able to get it open from the inside, and actually the vacuum lock solenoid was holding it shut, but ultimately it seems that it was actually seized. The latch itself was kind of seized up, so that was really the main issue, but let's go ahead and see what we can do about it. Alright, well, you can ask me in the comments why I didn't film actually trying to get that out. Started pulling screws out, and next thing you know, it's out. So I guess that's the lock device, the vacuum control for the lock, which that was what I manipulated. This was actually still linked up to it, and I was able to push that out, and that unlocked it, which got me to open it. So I think there was mainly two issues going on. I think that the vacuum, so this is the lock that would go up to the, lock, unlock. But there's also that vacuum solenoid connected here, which I think that might have been stuck in the lock position. But mostly I think it was just that this was seized. This was very stiff and seized up, and it kind of relies on spring pressure, right? So like, I just lubed it up, and it's working beautifully now. Can you see that? This is where the button on the outside pushes on. When it's locked, the button does nothing. Unlocked. And I'm just going to throw this back in there and make sure that it does a thing before I close it, because it would be double the work to pull the whole thing out of the other hatch if I don't need to. So I decided to just take the one out of the other hatch, and now that I know how it comes out, it took me about 3 minutes. And yeah, everything here is intact, and including this, which I don't know if this piece is down up in this hatch or something for the lock. I'll have to see. But yeah, that's good. Now we have it. Oh, and now that explains what that bolt is that I found in there. So I'll take a look in there before I put this back in and see if there's any. Alright, well, tested it. It's working. But I haven't shut it yet, so let's see what she's got. Alright, beautiful shut and open, and shut and open, and shut and open. Awesome. Check out what I found in there. Estados Unidos Mexicanos. 2 pesos? I don't know. That's interesting. Mexican money. So maybe this car originally was bought in Mexico, or maybe it just traveled through Mexico. Alright, check it out. So that coin was on that side. I was just starting the vacuum up, and I'm like, wait a minute, let me try this side. No way. Look at that. 3 more of them. I mean, I guess there's a chance that somebody just drove this to Mexico and their money that they had is just in here in the back seat, but I don't know. I think this thing came from Mexico. I think this is an original Mexicano ride right here. Alright, this thing's looking better already, so that's about as good as I'm going to get that door. But it is a major improvement. Let's take a look at what it looked like before that. That is just tremendously better than it was, and I could probably even put the trim on there. So here's my tools. Pulled the door panel off, and first thing I did was use that on the bottom, kind of flat across, and hammered it. One good hit, and that thing popped out on the bottom. And then I just took this piece of wood here, kind of up in there like that, and pried out where I needed to. And there it is. So I'm gonna try the same technique with that piece of wood, because it looks like I can get up under here and maybe get that to push out. Well, that's about the best I'm gonna get out of it, and actually I'm really happy with that. I tried working it a little bit further, but of course the paint is cracking, and from certain angles it still looks pretty crappy, but you know, it's a lot better than it was. I'm actually pretty pleased with that. And of course the door is about as good as I can get it as well. Yeah, so how do you like that for an air compressor? My Craftsman compressor took a crap, so this baby's got a connection right on it. Awesome. 120 PSI of reliable diesel goodness. So I realized something. There's two 1570s on what I thought was on all these. They're supposed to be 195/70 14s. But then I don't know how I didn't notice this tiny pitiful tire, which certainly is not good to have on one side of the differential. It's a 195/70. It's this, or no, I'm sorry, it's a 195/75, which is just a random off size that I only have the one of. This is a 195/70 that's supposed to be on all of them. So I thought that was a 195/70. I was going to take these two and put them on the front and have the two bigger 215s on the front, put them on the back. But I don't have the tires to make that happen. So the other spare that was in the back, well, actually not spare, the other tire that's in the back is actually the matching one to that 215/70. It's pretty dry rotted. They're all kind of not in greatest shape anyway. It needs tires, but it's flat, and I'm not sure why. So I'm going to try to air it up and see if I can use that. And then I just have to swap the other one on the passenger side rear for that, and then we'll be good. All right, I didn't film anything because I'm an idiot, but I didn't think it was really that interesting to see me put fuel filters on, so I just changed the fuel filters. And I got the diesel, I didn't get the diesel purge stuff in the mail yet, and I know you got to do that before changing the filters. I actually bought 2 pre-filters, so I'm just going to end up buying another main filter, and then I'll do the diesel purge after I drive it for a little while. Because I also wanted to see, will just the filters alone make a difference in power? And rather than do 2 things at once, I'd rather just, and I haven't driven it yet. Right now is right after I changed the filters. But here's the other pre-filter. Yeah, I don't know if you can really see how much, see all that crap in there? Yo, what's up? It's voiceover Gary again. So the test drives are going to be a little bit confusing because these were 2 different days. I test drove it to kind of see if the transmission was good after fixing that vacuum line. And after doing the fuel filters was another day entirely, and I drove it after that. So first we're going to do the test drive with the transmission fix and talk about that a little bit, just a quick little couple of polls with it, and see how it shifts, and then it'll be the test drive after doing the fuel filters. Better. It went right to 3rd though. And did that flare still. The other thing is I got no kickdown, and I think there's an electronic switch for the kickdown. I gotta look into that. So again, I might not be getting full throttle, or that switch could be bad. I think that's how it kicks down. Let's see if it's in drive. Oh hey, it kicked down. Just gotta stomp on it a little harder, I guess. That's pretty cool. I didn't get that the other day. Maybe because the vacuum line was disconnected. So it doesn't flare that time in the top gear. It kind of oozes into that gear, like slips into it. So that's not great, but seems to be okay, I guess. Oh, look at that Thunderbird. You can't see it, but it's fun. So that'd be 2nd, 3rd. Locked up inverter. Or is that top gear? Oh, that's top gear. So it almost seems like it's, I think this has a lock-up inverter. It seems like it went, because if you're in drive and you start out like that, I'll go 2nd and then a 3rd. So it seemed like it went to 3rd and then it locked up the inverter. Then it flared into the next gear. Instantly to 3rd is what it seems like. I wonder, supposedly, from what I read, is if you just leave it in low, it'll shift to 2nd, but I'm not so sure about that. It doesn't make sense to me, so I mean, there's really no over revving it. It'll just go to the governor and stop revving. It's not like, you know, I'm not gonna kill it. RPM I heard out of this thing yet. Oh man, I got nervous for a second. I wasn't gonna lift though. I was like, is it running away? Oh, I let off that time. So it definitely is a lot better if you floor it in every gear, but that seemed like a lot of RPM. Man, it sounds pretty good when it gets up there though. I can't wait to hear it with a freaking straight bike. Definitely still a little I thought it actually sounded a little better. And it didn't take forever to idle, although it is like 60 something degrees out. But it's still pretty shaky at idle. So I don't know. I think it's a little bit better at idle, but definitely, you know, it might need injectors, rebuild on the injectors, something like that. So that's typically, from what I've been finding out, that's typically what will cause both that clacking sound at idle and also and when I say clacking, obviously a diesel clacks, but it has kind of an intermittent. Sometimes it sounds like it has a rod knock, like kick, 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 kick. And I know it's not that, because when you bring it up off idle to no, you know, it'll all clear out. So the injectors are making a bit of noise, and I still got to do the diesel purge, and maybe that'll bring it back to life. So, or bring the injectors back to life. Oh yeah. Also, I found out, and I said, so did I actually? I never know what I actually filmed and what I didn't film. One of the rear tires was mismatched sized from the other side, so that's not good for the differential. So I went to go change that, realized I didn't have all the tires to make that happen. So I just changed the one tire. Well, I did have enough tires to change the one tire, but even though they're the exact same size front to rear, the fronts were Toyos that were on the front were Toyos, and the backs were like Mastercraft or some other brand. The same size tires, but they're physically different sizes, and that's the thing with tires. Tires are not created equal, especially like a good brand to a random off-brand. You know, typically the good brand will usually be a little bit bigger, but obviously it could vary. It could be smaller, it could be bigger. More importantly, the good brand tire will be the size it's supposed to be, and then sometimes an off-brand won't quite be that size. So the fronts looked bigger, and I was like going crazy. I can't have the fronts look bigger than the rears, so I went through the trouble of changing them. So now I swapped the fronts to the rears. Now the PSIs are all good now. Actually, they weren't that far off. One was at the fronts were. One was at 20 and one was at like 32 when they're actually supposed to be at 28. And the rears the rears were pretty close actually. So now we got 32 in the rear, 28 in front, as it's specified for this car. So maybe it'll drive a little bit better, but I had a vibration. I was driving it yesterday, and at about 55 miles an hour, there's a vibration. So maybe they're off balance. They're pretty old looking tires. They're kind of dry rotted. So they're gonna have to be replaced anyway. So let's see what this thing feels like. It's not completely up to temperature, but it's got quite a bit of temperature on the gauge. It's good. Just drop her into low and then into drive, although I'm pretty sure, so it does, if you give it a little bit of pedal, it definitely does start out first if you just drop it to drive, but I'm just going to do that just for the first go here. And it will, when it's cold, it still flares into fourth gear. And it skips to like, it goes second, third immediately, which is, I don't know what that is. See, there's the flare, but after it warms up, it doesn't really flare, but it's still kind of, is not right. It still kind of like slips into that gear. It's still definitely, the store is packed. It still definitely needs work with maybe the vacuum system or something. Right to third. So initial impression, there's no difference whatsoever. bunch of wind noise. All the door seals are completely shot. There's so much wind noise when you get up to like 55, 60 miles an hour. Alright, well, I'm gonna hit the kick down and see what she's got right now. Not much. Oh yeah, you kind of hear how it shifted into fourth. Why does it not feel as fast as it did yesterday? I mean, granted, I was driving it in the evening. It was really chilly out. That does make a big difference, especially with a turbo car, especially with no intercooler. There she is. I mean, I get it's like any slow car. It's only quick in like second gear, and then once it gets into third and fourth gear, it doesn't have any real, it's not that impressive. I think it chirped the tires. Alright, so I guess it's as good as it was yesterday, but it's weird. It feels more impressive than it is. That still only got me to like 50 miles an hour. Runs good. I mean, first, second, third, it pulls pretty good. Pretty good to about 40 miles an hour. It's funny, like it feels so much quicker than my other car, but I don't think it is. It's possibly slower, but it's the way that the turbo comes on. I used to call it the illusion of power when anytime you drive a turbo car, especially like an old 80s turbo car. Obviously this is turbo diesel, so I'm referring to like an old 80s turbo gas engine, like a Saab 900 turbo, or an old, my buddy had a XR4 Ti, 2.3 liter turbo Ford motor, and AmeriCore XR4 Ti. And the way that, even though it's like not that fast of a car, 180 horsepower for the Saab, 160, 170 for the AmeriCore. It's not that fast of a car, but the way that there's lag, and then that boost ramps in, and all of a sudden it's just... Matt Farah actually calls it the turbo shove. And of course, a car can be very fast with a turbo shove, but older 80s cars, even when they're not that fast, they give you that same feeling. And so this thing feels like it's got a bunch of power. Just... The other car was so linear, being naturally aspirated, that it never really felt... Like, off idle, it had a good amount of torque, more than this. But this actually has more overall torque. I just think the power band was different on that naturally aspirated one. Oh, you know what? That's right. I'm going to possibly Napa. That was funny. When it shifted, it actually made me come off the throttle a little, which is I was like... I hope you can hear how good this thing sounds. It really does have that it's a 5-cylinder, and the only thing that I can really think about when I hear it is an Audi 5-cylinder. It definitely has that note to it. When it gets up in the RPMs, I'm not sure how high this thing actually revs, and I haven't gotten all the way to the top of the RPMs yet, just because I don't want to. But it probably revs to about, I'm thinking like 4,500. All right, well, wash job. She don't look too bad. Some might say she don't look too good either, but I don't know. For trading my $1,500 W210 to roll around in this, I'm pretty happy. The wagons are pretty rare. I mean, I don't know if they're actually rare, but they are hard to come by lately, so I am pretty pleased. Ooh, is this coming off even further than it was? Oh, what the heck? That was, yeah, that moved. I gotta be careful. Let me go down the road and that'll just be gone at one point. So, yeah. once I get the rest of the trim back on, that should look a lot better. I think, and actually I found out you can actually buy all that trim brand new. It's not even that expensive. I think it's like 150 bucks or something for brand new trim. The fog light is one of the things that still bothers me. So this one, I got it straightened out, but it's all cracked and it's not yellow. The cracks don't even bother me. The fact that it's not yellow like that one anymore but it works. It actually does work. Thought the wheels would clean up a little better than they did. A couple of them have been repainted. That one's pretty nasty looking still. I think that one's been repainted. Dude, check out this diesel Rabbit pickup that just pulled in. Yo, that thing is awesome, man. It's beautiful.
Is it 300 or a 240?
300 turbo, yep. Yeah, just got it like a couple days ago.
Oh, did you?
I actually traded I had a W123 Mercedes with the OM617, the later one.
Okay.
It was a naturally aspirated. I traded it straight up for this.
Yeah.
It was a car I paid 1,500 bucks for, so
nice.
Basically got this. It's not the greatest, it's pretty rough, but yeah. I love it.
My dad had, he had the 240 and I think he had a 300 too.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool car, man.
Thank you. Yours is beautiful. I've never seen one that nice.
I had another one I was fixing up and I saw this one come for sale. I had to go buy it and I sold my other one.
Awesome.
It's pretty nice. It's got a little rust underneath, but not too bad.
Yeah, Northeast, everything does.
Yeah.
But probably not as bad as this under here, but oh well.
Oh well.
Have a good one, man. Alright, well that's actually going to do it for this one. It's freaking awesome how just a few little improvements at a time can make such a big difference with an old car like this. And I'm just absolutely loving this thing. I got my first compliment at the fuel station when I was fueling up, not from the guy with the Rabbit, but before that, a guy with a truck parked next to me. I love it. So awesome. Even though it's kind of a jalopy in the condition that it's in, it's still a classic car that is going to get looks, and that's why I love it. That's what it's all about. And also, I'm loving the way the driveway's looking now because, of course, it's got a 76 Camaro, 83 Mercedes-Benz, and an 85 Ford truck. Don't mind that piece of crap on the jack stands. That's not actually really mine, but I bought that thing to sell it a long time ago and never worked on it. But anyway, the driveway is looking good again. There was a time when I only had cool old cars here, and then I got that 97 Mercedes W210, and I liked it when I got it, but I kind of just got it as a regular basic runabout car, and it really, I never had a connection to it. Funny fact actually is I never even changed the fuel. I had that car for probably a year and a half. I never changed the fuel filter on it, and I never even had a wheel off of it. I just drove it until I didn't want it anymore. So, and thank you guys for watching. Go ahead and subscribe, hit the like button, comment down below, tell me what you think, and if you actually subscribed for tractor content, building stuff like that, driving it down the road, doing all kinds of crazy stuff, that is going to be coming again. I just like to kind of do what I like to do and put it on video, so let me know what you think. Are you more into the tractor stuff? Are you more into the cars, the trucks? I'm not like most other YouTubers where I can't just dump a bunch of money into the channel and do crazy stuff, so everything I do is on a budget. With that car, it really was no budget. I just traded my other car for it, so I'm rambling on as I usually do. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.